Hey everybody, welcome to English with a Native podcast. My guest today is Mr. John. John has been an English teacher for more than 25 years. He has taught in about four different countries and in the United States. Today we will take an in-depth look at how to improve your English through American culture. I think you are gonna enjoy it, guys. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell to be notified when I post on Thursday. Let's start our podcast. How are you, Mr. John?
I'm really good, Miser. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much. It's a great honor to have you.
I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you so much for accepting that. So, Mr. John, I have a question for you. Question is how to learn about American culture to improve or to be fluent in American English.
Sure. I'd be happy to talk about that. Yeah, I'm going to actually do it in four different parts. And today I'd like to do two parts where we talk a little bit about American culture. And the
Yeah.
second part, we'll continue with that, but for the last two parts in the next episode. But also in the next episode, I want to talk about ways to improve your American English. Exactly. So today is a little more about some cultural aspects of the USA, which kind of goes together with the language. So I'd like to start by talking about some good ways to learn about American culture. And now, the first one, you would think it would be very simple, but it's more involved with that, and it's actually learning English. Now, to learn English, we all learn English. All of my students, in kind of a basic way, they learn grammar and everything. But to really learn about American culture, you need to learn the aspects of American English, which are very different from British English, for example. And a really good way to do that is to watch a lot of American movies and TV, where you're going to learn a lot about the different idioms in English, which are very unique, and about the different ways that we use expressions. We'll talk more about that in the next episode, but movies and TV are a great way to learn about American culture. So another thing is that there are wonderful articles and websites on the internet, and there are wonderful ways to learn about American culture. And after the show, I'm going to give you a couple of websites that you can share with your students that are really great for learning about different things in American culture and about American English. But we'll talk about the language next time a little more. And I want to give you some websites for some museums in the USA. There are some great museums of American culture, and they share all their information on the internet. So your listeners can go to these websites and learn so much about American history and American culture. So I will give you some of those websites too. And one of the most important ways is to talk with Americans and to not be shy. Now, you may have your listeners may have American teachers living in their countries. Get to know them, get to talk to them. They'd be happy to do private lessons. They'd be happy just to meet with you. If you have an opportunity to speak to Americans in your own country, do it, and don't be shy. It's a wonderful way to learn about American English and American culture. So that's something I would really recommend too.
Yes.
So I want to talk a little bit about some of the aspects of American culture that are really important. One of them is the attitude of politeness. Okay. Now, every country has its own ways of being polite.
Yes.
But there are some certain things in American culture that are really unique to the USA. I want to talk a little bit about those. One of them is some simple things. Please, thank you, things like that go a long way in the USA. Sometimes we're shy because we don't feel that our English is good enough, so we forget to say thank you, we forget to say please. That's really, people take offense by that, even if they know you're from another country. It's important to use those words. Another special word is sorry. In British English, sorry can mean excuse me, right? The way we use excuse me in American English if you bump into someone or something. But we also use it a lot to show sympathy. For example, if somebody says, I had a terrible day, or a friend of mine is sick or something, we tend to say sorry. And it's their way of showing sympathy. So that's kind of something special that's in American English, I think. When you meet somebody, it's very simple. Hello, it's nice to meet you. We don't even say it is. We just drop that. We say, nice to meet you. Very simple thing. And that goes a long way in an introduction. One thing in American culture is we don't get real close physically to each other, right? When you're talking to somebody, in some cultures, right, you go real close to the people. That's not taken very well in the USA. If you're talking to somebody, stand about 12 inches away, right, at least. If you get too close to somebody, it doesn't go over very well in the USA, which is very different, for example, from some Mediterranean countries where people are very close, physically, right? So yeah, keep a little bit of distance when you're talking to somebody. When you're talking to people, it's important to look in their eye, right? When you're talking to them. If sometimes some of your viewers may be a little shy in using the language, so they look away or they look down when they're talking to somebody. That's very natural, but in the USA, sometimes people think that you're lying if you don't look in their eye, right? When you're talking, or they think you're not telling being honest with them about something. So that's kind of important. Look in their eyes.
I think you mean using body language and
Yeah,
eye contact. So it's important.
exactly. It's very important. It's people consider it very important here in the USA. Yeah. One thing is, if you're in a shop or in a bank or something like that, in British English, we say you need to stand in a queue. In American English, we say stand in a line. There's some cultures where the line isn't so important, right? People just go up to the desk. People kind of bump. Whoever goes there first gets served. That's really considered very rude in American culture. You need to kind of wait in your turn. Whoever came first is the next person served. And I know that's not considered rude in some other cultures, but that's really rude, and it can get people really angry. So you want to just stand in the line and wait for your turn, right? That's something that's really important. When you walk out of the store, you want to hold the door open for the person behind you. That's really considered polite. People love it. In some cultures, not so important. In American culture, it's very important, right? So it's just basic politeness goes a long way in American culture. Okay, some other tips maybe about living in the USA and American culture. One of them is get to know the holidays, right? Of course, it's all on the internet. You want to know, just like Americans in other countries, it's important for them to learn what the holidays are, religious holidays, non-religious holidays, because things will be closed on those days, so that's important. But also, I think it shows a little bit of interest in the country if you know when the holidays are coming up and what holidays are important. right? I would recommend learning the geography of the USA. Where are the different states, right? Where are the mountains? Where are the oceans? Where are the lakes? What are the most important cities? First of all, it's important for the visitor to know these things, and also it shows that you're interested in the country. I would tell Americans the same thing when they go to another country. You know, they should know those things, right? Okay, another thing is tipping. Okay, when you eat in a restaurant, you take a taxi or something like that. A tip is very important. And usually, right now, a good tip is about 20% of the price, right? In a restaurant or a taxi. And that, if you don't tip, it's a little bit rude. Okay, but the thing is that you don't want to tip too much if the service was very bad, right? So you're showing appreciation for good service by giving a tip. If the service or the food was terrible, you know, you don't want to give a good tip, right? Okay. A good thing to know is when you see a price of something in a store, it doesn't include tax, right? And every state has its own sales tax, right? So when you go to buy it, suddenly the price is higher, right? Every state is different. They have a different tax code. We don't have a federal sales tax for the whole country. You know, every state has its own. So that's really important to know. The order of the dates, right? Like today is July the 10th, right? We put the month first, and then the day, then the year, and the rest of the world.
It's weird, yeah. It's weird, in fact.
It's weird, yeah. And it makes more sense the rest of the world, you know, you do day, month, year, you know, but we do it a little crazy. We put the month. So that's confusing when you see that, especially if, you know, it can be very confusing. So remember, we put month, day, and year. Another thing is pets, okay? Everybody loves their pets all over the world, but in the USA, it's crazy. People love their pets as much as they love their brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers. They're part of the family, right? And it's really kind of polite to be nice to people's pets and to show an interest in them. So even if you're not a dog person or a cat person, it's always, you got to understand that pets in the USA are really important to people. Right? Last thing I want to talk about is school, okay? Because a lot of your viewers may be coming here to go to school and university or English school. I want to talk a little bit about that. Attendance at your class, any class they take in the USA, is really important. You're expected to come to every class and to come on time, right? A teacher will not be happy if you come late. They won't be happy if you miss a lot of classes. And at universities, you can actually be stopped from attending if you're late too much or you miss too many classes. In some countries, it's not as strict, right? But it's very strict in the USA. So you want to remember that. You want to remain seated in the classroom. Don't want to get up and walk around or do something unless you ask the teacher. You know, teachers in the USA, they want to be like the captain of a ship, right? They're in control of everything. So if you need to get up to do something, just, you know, you raise your hand and ask the teacher, you know, if you need to go to the bathroom or something like that. That's very, very important. So seating is very important. One thing is don't use your phone. Okay, phones in the class, it gets the teachers very angry. Put your phone on silent. Check your phone after the class. looking at your phone, I've taught overseas a lot. Okay, some countries, students are great. They put their phone on silent, they put it away. In some other countries I've been to, they're on their phone the whole time while you're teaching. It's American teachers don't like it. And you can actually get in a lot of trouble at a university for doing that because it's considered cheating if you're on an exam or something, right? So that's really important. And the last thing I want to mention is if you're a student here, right, it's important that you don't memorize, right? It's important that you understand what the teacher is saying. If you just memorize, the teacher will know it. He'll know that you're just memorizing and not really understanding the class. That can affect your marks. If you don't really understand what the teacher is saying, you need to get help from the teacher. Talk to him. He'll be very happy. He or she will be very happy to help you. It's important in the USA that students understand what's being taught and not just memorize things, because tests are very different. Exams are very different here. They test what you have learned, not what you've memorized. So that's a little different from some countries. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. In the next episode, I want to talk a little bit more about some American culture, and then more about, then we'll get into special ways to learn American English, the language itself. So, yeah, so did you have any questions you wanted to ask or anything?
Yeah, would you like to suggest some American movies or TV shows?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, there's a TV show that more students have learned English from and about American culture than any other one, and it's called Friends, and it's a very famous American TV
Yeah.
show. It's all over the internet and YouTube. They say that hundreds of thousands of people have learned about English and American culture by watching that TV show. That's very good. I also recommend news programs in English. There's great ones. CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera. These are all great channels in English for learning vocabulary, especially political vocabulary and things like that. If you have Netflix, there's so much on Netflix that's in English, and you can always put on the subtitles in your own language and then switch to American subtitles. So I would recommend those.
Wonderful. Yeah. In fact, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with everybody. I appreciate it so much. And thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of English with a Native podcast. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell and like this video. And thank you guys, and thank you again, Mr. John. Goodbye.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
See you guys.